Hello, today I'm going to show you how to put together the small ink pad holder, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. To start, we're going to put together the base that holds the drawer for either the small ink pad holder or the 2-drawer organizer. So this is the same steps. So this particular portion of the video is in both videos. So we have these main pieces, so we're going to go ahead and fold on the score lines. This is the top piece that I'm folding, and then the one to the right, upper right, is the bottom piece. So once we fold it, and I missed one little fold at the top, and we'll do that shortly, we're going to add the large panel on the top. And you just want to center it. There'll just be a small edge around it. It's just slightly offset in the middle so you can see a little bit of the cardstock. And then we have a couple more panels, so 3. We're going to add the one to the back, what will turn to be the back, and then the 2 for the right and left. And it's just easier to put the panels on before you assemble it, because you can go with gravity instead of against it. It can be done after you put it together, and I am using a 80 pound AC cardstock, so you don't need a really heavyweight paper, but I would say no less than 80 pound weight, a little bit higher if you can, but this is sufficient. So you'll see this has kind of the rounded edge is an edge that you'll fold over. So we're just going to add glue to that. That's just reinforcement in the front, on the top front. So we're just going to fold it over, and you want to make sure that's good and flat. If it has an edge corner, like a sharp corner, that's a tab to assemble the actual box. So that's what we just folded over. So now we're going to fold that last part, score that we didn't fold, and we're going to glue these side tabs to the inside of the sides of the holders. You want to make sure that, even though you can't see it, that the edge is aligned to the tab fold, and we'll do that on both sides to make the corners. So these are the back corners of the holder. I went off camera a little bit on this, so I do apologize. So you can see we have it lined up there to create the corner. And I wanted to apply a lot of pressure to make sure it's good and secure. Then what we'll need to do next are these 2 little strips right on the side here. You see there's a tab. We're going to add the strip to cover the tabs. So what these 2 strips are just essentially doing, making sure that it's smooth so you can insert and pull out the whether it's the 1 drawer for the small ink pad holder or the 2 drawers for the 2-drawer organizer. Otherwise, when you pull and put the drawer back in, it gets stuck on the actual edge of the tab. So this is the fix. Make sure that doesn't happen. It makes it a little bit more snug too for the drawer. Once we get that good and secure, we're going to move on to the next step, which involves gluing this piece. But before we glue it on to the top, we want to glue this edge over just like we did on the top piece. One thing just with this one, you just want to make sure it's good and glued down and that it doesn't come up anywhere before you glue it together. So we're going to glue all these tabs. So we're going to glue this back tab first. You want to align the the edge of that panel to the inside edge of the tab fold on the back. So what we're going to do is add glue to that back tab. And then we want to just eye it, make sure that we line up that edge to the inside of the tab fold on the back. For some reason I'm just having issues with the glue bottle today, trying to tack me back. So make sure it's aligned properly, and what I usually do, and I tried to show you best I could in this, is that I align it and then I kind of fold it up like that to make sure that it's folding properly and it's sitting in the inside of the edge. Then just apply pressure. And then now that it's secure, we can go ahead and glue those other two side tabs. So we're going to add glue to one of them, do it one at a time, just because we have to use something to apply pressure from within. And I can't do both at once, so we go ahead and fold that over and kind of press against it, rub against it to make sure it kind of at least gets set in place. And then we can flip it over, get a blunt tool. I use something like a wooden chopstick, and apply pressure against the table so we can secure that tab. And we'll do the same on the other side as well. Then once we get this set in place, that will finish the base portion for the small ink pad holder or 2-drawer organizer. And you could try to reach in. Well, we do have one other piece I'll show you. There's an optional bottom piece. But you can reach in if you can, but my hand's too thick to be able to reach in without distorting the box too much. So that's why I use a tool. It's handy to have around for a lot of other reasons too. And cheap enough. So that was just pulling up on one side here. So just add a little glue. And then we have this optional panel. Doesn't bother me, but some people don't like to see the tabs on the bottom. So if you really want a finished piece, you can go ahead and add this tab on panel on the bottom. And then that'll finish it if that was your choice to cut that out. If you followed my files exactly, you probably would have cut it out anyways. And then I just flip it over and apply pressure from the other side. So that completes the holder portion. So we'll go on to the next step. After this, we'll start putting together the drawer, the main drawer piece, and then the insert that goes in there. So there's the insert, a panel for the front of the drawer, and the large piece for the drawer. So that'll go in that. So we're going to go ahead and fold on score lines. So it'll be double folds on both sides. The drawers are reinforced on the front and the sides, so that's why there's so many flaps. So before we do anything, we're going to fold over the front reinforcement flap or tab, however you want to call it. Just make sure it's no flaps flipping up, that no edges coming up. Make sure it's good and glued down. You'll do the same for the back. And that's just reinforcement to strengthen the drawer. I had a little piece in the front kind of coming up. Then we're going to glue those two tabs to the side on both sides. But before that, let's go ahead and add this little front drawer panel. Just easier to add it before it's assembled. You just center it. There's a little edge around that section. and no other part will be seen. So that's the only panel. So now we'll just glue those tabs to the inside of the sides of the drawers. We'll just match up that edge, the side edge, to the tab fold to create the corners, and we'll do that on all 4 sides. As I had a little glue there that hit that glue bottle. I didn't see it till later, but I did wipe off that glue. I'm going to just continue doing that on all 4 sides. And once we get that done, what we'll do is fold in those top flaps down. They'll go over the tabs, so it'll hide those tabs and make that drawer a little bit sturdier. Sometimes it takes me a couple tries to get it lined up. But so if that happens to you, just be patient with yourself. Sometimes I have to pull it apart and start over. There are times, so you don't feel alone, that I do a design and I tear it so much that I have to cut it out again. But thus the nature of paper. So when you're folding those final flaps over like that, again, just make sure no edges are pulling up. That's why you're not seeing it, because I'm actually applying pressure against the table really well. Because I don't want them poking up or anything, so anything can get underneath it or it pulls up. And then after this, we get that last one lined up. We will add that insert. One thing I'll note with the insert, since I have time before I'm finishing here. With the insert, you can put it together and you'll see, put it together and just push it in, but it does have, unless you glue it in, and I'm not going to show it being glued in, you have the option with this design to not put the insert in, or just to use it as a one big box. I mean, you could just use it as one big drawer. But if you did want to use it as intended with the little insert, I'll note, you might want to glue it in or adhere it in somehow. So that's how the drawer goes in. So we're going to put this together, and we're first want to fold all the little edges. So what I find is easiest, I was trying to hold it, is put it against the table, making sure the score portion is down, and then you're folding up, so the table's helping you do the work. Because there's such narrow edges on this thing, it will come up. It just takes a little bit of patience and being gentle with it. So I'm going to go get a fine tip applicator here, glue applicator, my little Darice. I'm using art glitter glue in that. So I'm going to just adhere the corners. So we're just gluing these little tabs to make the corners again, similar to what we did with the big box. And I'm going to use these little clothespins to hold it. I have some miniatures, just couldn't find them, so let me pull the miniatures out. Because the small ones, these do come in handy. I'm just wanting them to hold for a little bit longer as I can go and glue the other corners. And all this is just making a form. There's not a whole lot of, I didn't want this to be too deep, because most of I had a bunch of square inks, stamp inks, and distress inks, and some, if it was too tall, the edges get stuck. So when you go to pull out the ink pads, the lid just comes off because it's too far down. So I wanted to make one that was a little bit not as deep. So that's why you don't see it real deep. So when you put it in, you can just kind of pop it in. It's pretty snug in there. And you might just want to put a little bead of glue in the area that on the sides towards the bottom of the box, so it'll hold it in place. If you want it to be secure and not pull up when you pull the inks out, and I made it the holes a little bit wider so it wouldn't pull up, it wouldn't get stuck too often, but it could. So you might want to put a little bit of adhesive or something like that, or really strong double sticky sided. So after you get your inks in, you can go ahead and slide it in, and it's all ready, and you could actually stack these, which is handy. So I hope you enjoyed this project. I surely did, and I thank you for watching.